The forest was alive with whispers, shadows stretching long under the silver gaze of the full moon. Seraphina's boots crunched against the frozen undergrowth, her breath forming clouds in the frigid night. She could feel it before she saw it, the weight of a presence that bent the air itself, a power so immense it made the trees seem small and fragile. He was close, too close, the Alpha King Cal, a name spoken in hushed tones across every pack in the Northern Territories. He could claim any Omega he desired, bend wills with a flick of his gaze, and crush defiance without a thought. Most ran, most begged, most fell. Seraphina, however, was neither most nor meek. She had learned to survive on her own, to trust only her instincts and her hidden strength. And tonight she would not surrender, not to him, not to fate, not to any man who thought power alone could bend her. "You are mine." Cal's voice rumbled from the shadows, golden eyes burning through the darkness. "I am not," she shot back, heart-pounding fury and fire in her gaze. "Claim me if you can." And with that she turned and vanished into the forest, igniting a chase that neither predator nor prey would ever forget. The forest was alive with the whispers of the wind, carrying scents of moss, pine, and distant rivers. The moon hung low and luminous, bathing the trees in a silver glow. Among the shadows, a lone figure moved with purpose. Her name was Seraphina, small in stature but fierce in spirit. Her amber eyes flicked toward every movement, every rustle. She had learned long ago that the wilderness was both her refuge and her prison. In the distance, a thunderous growl broke the calm of the night. Seraphina's heart skipped a beat, not out of fear but anticipation. The Alpha King, the most powerful werewolf of the northern packs, was approaching. His name was Wascal, and legends spoke of his ruthlessness and his obsession with dominance. He could claim any Omega he desired, bend entire packs to his will, yet he had never been denied. Until tonight, he emerged from the shadows, massive and regal, his coat as dark as the midnight sky, eyes glowing like molten gold, every movement exuded authority and raw power. He stopped a few feet from her, towering, his presence pressing down like the weight of the mountains themselves. "I can claim 50 Omegas like you," he said, his voice deep, resonant, and commanding. Each word seemed to shake the air around them. "All obedient, all mine." Seraphina's lips curved into a small, defiant smile. Her heart raced, but her pride burned hotter. She stepped forward, meeting his gaze without flinching. "Do it," she said, her voice steady, dripping with challenge. "Claim me if you can, but know this, I am not like the others." Cal's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something she couldn't read crossing his face. He had expected submission, fear, desire, but not at this, not a challenge, not a fire he could not immediately extinguish. For a long moment neither spoke. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Then, without warning, Seraphina turned on her heel and walked away. Each step was deliberate, echoing against the frozen ground. The snow crunched beneath her boots, masking the rapid beat of her heart. Cal stood frozen, the alpha instinct in him screaming to give chase, to dominate, to claim. But something in her, the audacity, the courage, the untamed spirit, stirred a strange curiosity he had never felt before. "You will be mine," he muttered under his breath, more to himself than to her. No one walks away from the Alpha King. But Seraphina's mind was already racing, plotting her escape, her defense, and maybe, just maybe, a way to make this dangerous game work in her favor. She had secrets he could never anticipate, secrets that could change everything. The moonlight reflected off her hair as she disappeared into the shadows, leaving the Alpha King alone with a growl that shook the trees. It was the beginning of a battle neither of them fully understood yet, a battle of wills, of desire, and of a destiny neither could escape. The forest had grown darker as night deepened. Seraphina's breath formed small clouds in the icy air as she pushed herself forward, leaping over gnarled roots and ducking under low-hanging branches. Every sound made her pulse quicken, but it wasn't fear that drove her, it was defiance. She had survived worse than the Alpha King's wrath. She had survived herself. Behind her, silent as the shadows, Cal moved. His strides were impossibly long, effortless, a predator gliding through the night. Even the wind seemed to bend around him, warning of his presence. The scent of her lingered in the air, sharp, intoxicating, impossible to ignore. He caught up without effort, appearing suddenly in a clearing, His golden eyes locked on her with unyielding intensity. "You think you can run?" His voice rolled like distant thunder. "Do you not understand what you've done?" Seraphina stopped, chest heaving, but she refused to turn. "I did what any sane Omega would do," she said, voice trembling only slightly, hiding her rising pulse. "I walked away from a tyrant." Cal's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. "A tyrant." He tilted his head, studying her like a sculptor examining a raw stone. "No, little fire, I am an alpha. And fire like yours, it demands control." Her heart skipped, not from fear, but from the undeniable pull of his presence. She could feel it, the magnetic gravity that made her body tense, her instincts alert. The forest seemed to fade around them. All that existed was the dance of predator and prey, challenge and desire. Seraphina finally turned to face him, fists clenched at her sides. "I am not prey," she said, voice sharper now. "And if you think a title or size or strength makes me yours, you're mistaken. I don't belong to anyone." Cal's eyes darkened, golden embers flickering with a mixture of frustration and fascination. He stepped closer, each movement measured, deliberate. "You already belong," he murmured, just a whisper now, his gaze devouring her. "Not to me yet, but you will." For the first time, Seraphina felt something crack inside her defenses. She could smell the raw power emanating from him, hear the low rhythm of his heartbeat in the silence between them. Desire, fear, and adrenaline mixed in a way she had never felt before. She tore her gaze away and bolted once more, weaving through the trees. Cal didn't chase immediately, not yet. He allowed her a head start, letting the tension build. Every instinct in him screamed to close the distance, but something about her defiance demanded patience, savoring the hunt. Hours seemed to pass in that shadowed forest. The cold bit at Seraphina's skin, and fatigue threatened to pull her down, but she refused to surrender. She had secrets hidden in the folds of her past, secrets that could protect her from any alpha, even one as formidable as Kale. Eventually, she reached a narrow canyon, its walls high and jagged. She paused, gasping for air, and listened. The forest was silent, but then she heard it, the soft padding of claws against earth, measured and precise. Kale had followed, he had never stopped. "You're clever," he said, stepping into the moonlight above her, towering like a god of shadow and flame. "But cleverness can only buy time. It cannot save you." Seraphina swallowed hard. She could feel the weight of his power pressing down on her, yet she straightened her shoulders. "Maybe," she said, voice firm, "but sometimes time is enough to turn the hunter into the hunted." Kyle's laugh rumbled through the canyon, low and dangerous, filled with both amusement and intrigue. "Perhaps," he admitted. "Perhaps. But be warned, firecracker, you will not escape me forever." And with that, he vanished into the shadows, leaving Seraphina alone, her heart racing, her mind spinning, and a strange, forbidden thrill curling in her chest. The game had only just begun. The forest had grown eerily quiet after Kale disappeared. Seraphina leaned against the jagged canyon wall, heart hammering like a war drum. She could still feel the ghost of his presence, like a heat that burned through the cold night air. She pressed a hand to her chest, trying to steady herself. He was an alpha unlike any she'd ever known, powerful, overwhelming, dangerous, and yet, there was something in his gaze that unsettled her in ways she didn't want to admit. She crouched low and slipped into a narrow crevice between rocks, hoping to lose him, hoping to catch her breath, but the forest had a way of hiding no secrets. A low, almost imperceptible growl vibrated the air and she froze. Kyle's silhouette emerged like a shadow stretching across the moonlit canyon. "You can run," he said softly, the sound smooth and lethal, "but you can't hide." Her pulse surged, a mix of fear and something she could not name. There was danger in his eyes, but also curiosity. Hunger. He wasn't here to kill her. Not yet. He was here for something far more intoxicating. Seraphina darted between rocks, climbing higher along the canyon wall. The cold bit into her fingers, but she didn't care. She had survived storms, wolves, and human betrayal. Kyle's presence was merely another test. Kale followed, almost gliding over the stones. Each step was silent yet commanding. He was close now, so close that Seraphina could feel the heat radiating from his body, smell the wild scent of his wolf beneath the human guise. "Why do you resist me so?" he asked, his voice a low rumble that made the air itself tremble. Most would kneel at my feet, beg for my claim, surrender everything. But you flare like fire in the wind." She stopped, finally turning to face him. Her eyes blazed. "Because I am not like the others. I do not belong to anyone, not to kings, not to gods, not to monsters." Kale tilted his head, studying her. There was admiration there, buried under his alpha pride. "Monster," he muttered, almost to himself. "Perhaps, but a beautiful one." Seraphina felt her pulse spike. The words were dangerous, intoxicating. Desire flared where caution should have been. She turned abruptly and jumped to another ledge, narrowly escaping his grasp. The thrill of the chase made her blood burn. She could feel the power of the alpha pressing down on her, and the pull between them was undeniable, magnetic, irresistible. Suddenly, a memory struck her, a flash of her past, a shadow she had buried long ago. A secret she had hidden from every pack she had ever encountered, a truth that could change everything if Kale ever discovered it. Her wolf, her true power, had been trained in secrecy, and now the Alpha King, the most powerful being she had ever encountered, was chasing her through her forest. Cal paused at the edge of the canyon, sensing her hesitation. "What is it you hide?" he asked, voice low, almost a growl. "There is a fire inside you, a fire I can smell, even through the fear." Seraphina swallowed hard. She had two choices: reveal herself and risk everything, or stay silent and keep running. Her instincts screamed to protect herself, yet something in his gaze, something deep and primal, made her reconsider. She started, voice trembling. "I am not just an Omega." Cal's eyes narrowed, curiosity burning brighter. "Oh," his tone was soft, yet every muscle in his body tensed. "Then show me." The words hung between them like lightning in the night. The forest itself seemed to hold its breath. Seraphina could feel her heart pounding, not with fear, but anticipation. She didn't know what Kale would do next, but for the first time, she realized that this Alpha, the man, the wolf, the king, was not only a threat, he was a challenge she wanted to face. And in the shadows of the canyon, two forces, equally stubborn, equally strong, equally wild, stood on the brink of a game that neither could predict, and neither could resist. The wind howled through the canyon like a chorus of ghosts, whipping Seraphina's hair across her face as she crouched on a rocky ledge. Her pulse raced, not just from the chase, but from the surge of energy that had started to rise within her. Kale's words had struck a chord deep in her core, awakening something she had kept locked away for years. Something primal, something that made even the forest itself tremble. Below her, Kale moved like a shadow, eyes glowing gold, scanning every crevice, every corner. He was calm, calculated, and utterly dangerous, but there was a flicker of something new in his gaze, curiosity, intrigue, perhaps even awe. "You can't hide your fire," he called, his voice echoing off the canyon walls, deep and commanding. "I can feel it burning even through the stones." Seraphina's claws dug into the rock as she drew in a deep breath. Her wolf stirred inside her, sensing the alpha, recognizing the challenge. She had been trained to control her power, to hide it from predators. But Cal was unlike any predator she had faced. The temptation to unleash even a fraction of her strength surged like molten lava. "I am not your Omega," she hissed, voice trembling with controlled fury. "And if you think you can intimidate me, you're wrong." Kyle's lips curved into a slow, dangerous smile. "No, little fire, I don't intimidate," he said softly, almost a whisper. "I test, I push. And you tempt me beyond all reason." The canyon seemed to shrink as they faced each other, predator and fire, wolf and Omega, both unwilling to yield. Then, with a sudden motion, Seraphina leaped from the ledge, spinning in the air with precision only a trained wolf could manage. Her claws grazed the canyon wall as she landed gracefully on the opposite side, far enough to vanish into the shadows. Kyle's eyes narrowed, and for the first time he moved with unrestrained speed. He bounded across the canyon like a living storm, his presence collapsing the distance between them with terrifying efficiency. "Show me," he demanded, voice a low growl now, each word vibrating through the stone beneath her feet. "Show me who you really are." Seraphina's chest heaved. She could feel the energy coursing through her veins, her wolf, her power, her very essence calling out. The ground beneath her feet shimmered faintly as she allowed a spark of it to ignite. Her aura flared, golden and fierce, and the shadows around her twisted like smoke in a storm. Cale froze for the briefest instant, just long enough for a flicker of surprise to flash across his face. He had encountered powerful Omegas before, but none like this, none who dared to wield their strength in defiance of an Alpha King. "You?" he murmured, his voice low and incredulous. "You're extraordinary?" Seraphina's gaze met his, burning with equal intensity. "Do you still want to claim me?" she challenged, letting a tendril of her power ripple through the canyon, forcing the rocks to vibrate beneath them. "Because I won't go quietly, and I won't bow." Cale's golden eyes glimmered with a storm of emotions, anger, desire, awe, and the thrill of a true challenge. Slowly, deliberately, he lowered himself to a crouch, meeting her at eye level despite the distance. "No," he said softly, almost reverently. "I don't want you to go quietly. I want this. I want you. All of you?" For a moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. The wind stilled. The forest hushed, and even the stars above seemed to flicker in anticipation. Two forces equally wild, equally untamed stood at the edge of collision. Seraphina's wolf stirred, sensing both danger and desire. Cale's presence called to her in ways she hadn't expected, and though she fought against it, she felt the magnetic pull drawing them together. This was no longer a chase. It was the beginning of something far more dangerous, and far more intoxicating than either of them had anticipated. And in the shadows of the canyon, fire met storm, defiance met power, and the first sparks of a forbidden bond ignited, one that would consume them both, whether they were ready or not.